I get up there and there's no stands.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just set my Bible down until I need it. So I set it down, I'm drinking my coffee, and I felt like God say, nope, just go from memory.
Just go with what you have.
And I was like, number one, you literally just gave me something to talk about, and I'm not allowed to quote from the Bible. So, anyways, it was...
But it was good.
Not my favorite, what do you call it? Not my favorite...
way of doing something.
Way of doing things.
Yeah.
I like to be a bit more prepared. But yeah, it seemed to work out well. And it's, honestly, it's not it wasn't a memory thing. It was literally one of those where I was talking, and as you could probably tell, I was talking a bit slower. And like, as I'm talking, praying, God, remind me, what's that next verse? What was the next thing coming? You know? And so that was, not my plan at all. So you can tell Rich, his memory's great, and that has nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Boy, I hope I don't start yawning. Maybe I should have taken a nap too. I don't know. I might have to go run around the...
run around the church, and then...
and then go sit back down.
So, anyways, want to welcome you to our podcast.
Are we going?
We're going.
Oh, we are? Okay.
We're doing this.
Well, thank you.
Welcome to Shoot the Breeze, a series on our podcast that celebrates the messiness of life, relationships, and Christianity, featuring my wife Lacey and myself, Nathan. It's creatively titled because it will be just us shooting the breeze, sometimes with guests, while occasionally saying something important. We hope you enjoy. I'm here with my mom, Jolene. I want to start singing Jolene, Jolene.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, do you get that? Do people do that? A lot.
I've often said that if I got a penny, even just a penny, for every time somebody has to bring that song up, I would probably be rich. By now.
Jolene.
Yeah. Oh.
No, I'm here with my mom. Yeah. Jolene Beach.
Mm-hmm.
And to start off, I want to ask you a few questions, okay?
Okay.
It's what I ask some of my guests.
Okay.
Most of them.
Oh.
So if you had to, what is your favorite way to waste time?
My favorite way to waste time? I guess I'd say sleeping. Oh, you know me. I try to keep pretty busy. I don't know.
I was going to say, I know something that you, like, often happens is, like, if I'm at your house or something, I'll be like, hey, how'd you sleep or something like that? And you're like, oh, we went to bed at, like, 10. And, man, I stayed up till, like, 2 on Facebook.
Oh, yeah, but you know what? I don't go on Facebook that often. I only go on Facebook about...
I think
it used to be Sunday afternoons. Yeah. I would go on Facebook, but I would say probably since COVID.
Oh wow! Okay.
I would say it's probably like every 2 to 3 weeks.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So then that's why it takes me a long time to go through the whole thing, because I don't go on very often. So when I do, I go through the whole spiel till I get to the end. So yes, then it does take me several hours to do that.
Okay, so favorite way to waste time is sleeping and scrolling on Facebook once every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Tell me about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? Who are you married to? I don't know. Do you have kids? Anything like that?
Oh boy, do I have any kids that I claim, or do you know?
Let me rephrase that, Mom. Do you have any successful kids?
Well, okay, so what do? I like gardening. I'm married to Rich Beach, and we bought a house a few years ago that we're in the process of remodeling. So we've been, in the winters, we normally work on the inside, and in the summers, we work outside landscaping and stuff like that.
We were just talking, sorry, Rich is my stepdad. He's retired now, or like a year-ish?
Well,
and then you have like 2 more years.
I'm planning on working 2 more years. I'm a teacher assistant at the high school in Superior, Wisconsin. But he just hasn't been working. It all started with COVID and being a cook and restaurants closing down and stuff. And then with his hip, he went back to work, only working, I think it was 2.5 hours a day. And he had a degenerative hip problem. And anyway, the hip bone was caving in on itself. Due to lack of blood circulation. Okay. And anyway, when they opened up again, he went back like 2.5 hours a day, and his hip was just bothering him so much. It was like, I can't do this. So, but now he's got a hip replacement, and he'll be. But anyway, we don't foresee him going back to work. So I say it's kind of an anticlimactic retirement. I feel sorry for him because it wasn't like a definite date that you could set that I retired and we had a retirement party and all that. It was just kind of one of those things that kind of dwindled down to nothing.
So we were talking last night, and it apparently didn't hit me. Me and Lacey have been married the same as long as you and Rich. Well, you guys are like...
We got married the same year.
Yeah, you guys are like a year-ish ahead.
We just got married at the beginning of the year, and you got married at the end.
So crazy. I'm still flabbergasted by that. And then, and you guys have known each other the same amount of time as Lacey and I. It's crazy to think.
Yeah. I would say maybe we've known each other a little bit longer, but because we met in June, and then you went to ABI, in September, October.
So, okay. Yeah.
So
crazy.
We're just a little bit ahead of you, but yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
Proud of you, Mom.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. What is... Okay. When in conflict or disagreement, are you a flight, fight, or freeze person?
I would say more of a freeze.
Okay.
It's like my brain goes dead. I can't think of a thing to say. And then it takes me a couple days to process. And then it's like, oh, I should have said this. Oh, why didn't I think of that? Oh,
Yeah.
So I tend to freeze, and then it takes me a while to process things.
Okay. And then, I do remember that. Yeah, you and me are a lot alike, where I usually am like, oh, I could have had that amazing comeback. Oh, that would have been good. Do you... Not that I've ever done this, but have you ever been like, oh, if I could have another conversation with that person, I'm going to say that thing? And then have you ever, again, hypothetically, because I've never done this, arranged a conversation so that you can say that thing?
I can't honestly say one way or the other. I just can't think of a... Because here again, you're putting me on the spot. I wish you would have forewarned me about the questions.
I don't know half the questions. That's the thing, Mom. It's like, I don't know the questions I'm going to ask. It's going to come off of what we're talking about.
Anyway, it would have given me time to think about it.
All right, I'll ask.
That's my problem. I have to have time to think and process before.
I'm vaguely reminded of my conversation with Jeremy and Josh.
Yeah, and you guys can just you guys just keep going and rolling and all of that, and I'm just like, oh man, how are they so quick at responding and all
Me
of
and
that?
Lacey?
No, you and Josh and
Thing is, we talk about
Jeremy
nonsense. It's easy to come up
yeah.
with nonsense. I've told you how our podcast, mine, Jeremy's, and Josh's, is the only one I've ever had to edit.
I know that you've had to edit. Yeah, yeah. You did, by the way, do a good job editing. I mean, we could tell where you had, but you did do a good job.
Thanks, Mom.
Editing.
What other things have I been doing a good job?
Well,
No. Okay. So you're a freezer.
Yes,
Freeze.
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Mom,
What?
are you ready for my next question?
Probably not.
Okay, I'm gonna have way more fun with this.
Oh no.
I hope you can answer this one. Like, I hope this is a you. So what would you say is your love language?
Okay, so it's my
your phone
phone.
going?
Yes,
Mom!
I know.
Go turn it off. Go turn it off.
You want me
Yeah,
to do
you
it?
got
Are you
me.
gonna cut it?
No. Well, nope. We're all gonna wait. Me and my 3 other listeners are just gonna sit here.
Oh my goodness! No, I didn't realize it until it started ringing. Like, oh, no.
I should have said, Mom, make sure all of your electronics are off.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm actually turning my making sure my computer's turned off as well, so I don't get anything coming in.
Okay. So
All right.
we should be good now. So anyway, so what is my love languages?
Yeah. So you have like receiving gifts. You have like quality time, words of affirmation. Let's see, gifts, quality time, words of affirmation, physical touch, and
meaningful words
words of affirmation.
or acts of service.
Acts of service, yeah.
And mine, because that's what mine is
Acts of service. Oh, okay.
And I would say that that's number 1, and then 2 would be meaningful touch.
Okay, so like a hug,
Yeah.
a jab on the arm.
Well, Rich is so good at rubbing my back or my feet or whatever and stuff.
What are his love languages?
His is quality time and touch.
Okay.
I would say probably touch is number 1, and then
it's
time.
not service?
Mm-mm.
Because the reason I'm asking that is it seems like he really likes to serve.
He does. Okay. He does. And that's why I think we're such a good team, like helping out at church and stuff like that, because he does like to help people. He has a very caring heart and, and spirit. And, but, excuse me, but yeah, his is more quality time. And, just like during COVID, stuff like that, just going for a car ride with him or something like that was.
I would have totally thought it was like acts of service because he's such a good.
Yeah, he is a
person.
server. Yeah. He does have a servant's heart, but he, he rather it's more the spending time together, I guess.
Oh, so he likes to he likes to serve with people, kind of an idea. So as long as he's with people, it doesn't matter what he's. Oh, okay.
Right.
Maybe him and I are gonna have to do some yard work together then.
Yeah.
2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah. No, it's the spending time together and stuff.
Okay, cool.
Really
so you guys have been married 16 years? You would have just celebrated your 16th? Because I think we're
17th.
Okay, yeah, because we're celebrating our 17th.
Yeah,
so you guys already 17 years together. In that time, and I know we'd spoken previously about divorce and that, but like in the 17 years, what would you say have been, back up to maybe your divorce and maybe his divorce too, but what are some things that you saw in such a tumultuous time? What are ways that you saw God's provision in that you saw his like faithfulness in that?
Oh boy. Are you talking about once we've gotten together, or are you talking?
Well, okay. Let's back up to like the divorce. Something that for most people is such a devastating time, and the reason I say most people is because some people are just like divorce.
Yeah.
But like I know, for us growing up, never thought divorce was an option. But so like during those such a difficult time for you, what are some ways that you saw God's provision during such a difficult time?
Well, I would say for both of us, neither one of us wanted the divorce. So yeah, it was tumultuous for us. I mean, if either one of us had our way, we definitely would not have gone the route, that our marriages went. For Rich, I guess I would say for him, he just thought it was the end of his life. He just thought there's no, there's nothing ahead for me. My marriage is done. My life's over and stuff. And so he went and got a rope, and he was planning on hanging himself from a tree. And he had 3 dogs, and he said he went to the garage to get a rope, and he got the rope, and he said his dogs had never done this before. But anyway, they jumped on him and knocked him down. And he said it basically was knocking some sense into him, like, what are you doing? And he really feels like God intervened there, that he used the dogs to knock him down in order to knock some sense into him,
Right.
And and stuff. And so from there, it's like, okay, I've got to get help. So he called his. He was a Catholic at the time, and so the only person he knew to call was the Catholic Church, and he talked to the priest there, and so the priest told him about divorce care, and that's how he said, personality wise and stuff, he's not an extrovert or anything, and so for him to go someplace where he doesn't know people or anything like that.
Huge step.
Yeah, it was a huge step for him, but he said he knew he needed help, and he knew, that getting it from a spiritual source or whatever was, the best place to go or be or whatever. So, so now, like he says, he really feels like God used that to intervene in his life. And for me, I mean, well, you had asked me about miracles or whatever, and so I don't know if you want me to get into it now, because I feel like...
Hold on, for those of you listening. So, I rarely know the questions that I'm going to ask. I just usually have a vague topic that I might want to talk about the person, talk to the person about. My mom came prepared with a sheet of paper and stories. If you're watching the video, you got to see it, but it's awesome. You're the most prepared guest I've had.
Oh, really? Well,
again, it goes back to
that freezing, the freezing. So I have to have a little bit of reference.
Can I see them? That way I can ask questions.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
But
no, so like what? Yeah, so like what are some of the, whether it's provision, like what someone might consider like natural provision, right? Like, oh, there was nothing supernatural or miraculous about it, but you living it, looking back, can be like, no, that was absolutely God's hand. Or that absolutely supernatural provision. Like, what are some things, like going through that difficult time? Yeah, what were some of those for you?
Well, I would say that, probably, I was going to say maybe the biggest one was financial, just because I had always been, a stay-at-home mom, housewife, whatever, and so hadn't worked outside the home. I mean, I did for a few years before we got married, but then you go, 20, 25 years without working in the workforce. Excuse me.
My mom's getting over COVID.
I'm the mother of a CF child. We both have the same thing.
You don't have
Talking all the
CF?
time. No, I don't have CF.
I have
but
CF.
I feel like that gunkiness.
Oh, because you have COVID.
I had the gunkiness before COVID. So
Mom, you should be wearing a mask right now. Oh, what are you doing?
I think it's just part of all that hereditary gunk stuff. My dad had the same thing. We talk about the part
being
gunk.
Interesting.
Yeah. Speaking of that, excuse me.
But also, you're getting over COVID.
Yeah, I'm over it. I'm done. It's been a while. Anyway, there's a lot of fear and stuff, and just God just meeting me, in various places in that area of, protecting me. I'll take care of you. I'm watching over you and stuff like that. But I would say financially, there's a few stories that I like to tell about. I had some foster kids, and one day I was walking with one of the foster girls. She was, I want to say 5 or 6 years old, and we were just going for a walk, and it was a Sunday afternoon, and she was wearing her dress from church and stuff, and we find a penny. And so, we had pockets, and so stuck it in the pocket and took a few more steps, and here's another penny. And then another one, and another one, and another one. Yeah. And it was just like, I guess I was just picturing somebody with a bag of money just either walking or riding their bike down the street with a hole in it, and that,
it's
just
like dropping yeah.
And I mean, we were going blocks and finding pennies, and she, it got to the point where she was holding her dress out like this, and we were filling it up, and then we had gone close enough to our house. I said, well, tell you what, I'm going to run in and get some ice cream buckets. And so we emptied her dress out, and we just kept following this trail of money.
Oh, wow.
And when I took it in, it was like $34.
Oh, my goodness.
Of pennies. I mean, it was all pennies.
Wow.
And it was just like, to me, that's a miracle. It's like, and nobody else was there walking down the streets picking up money or whatever. It was just us two, and it was just a provision from God or whatever. And we were talking about medical insurance and stuff like that, and working at the school, I was working part-time, but I feel like God gave me a full-time job with medical insurance for just the span of time that we needed it. Yeah. Because then I lost my full-time job and had to go back to part-time and stuff. But I feel like God provided that job for, the amount of time that we needed it in order to get you through to 18 or whatever and stuff. But, just too, how, God meets just your little sometimes wants or desires and stuff sometimes, because I would say that the next two stories I have to tell are definitely not needs. They were just desires that I had. Yeah. But one time I had gone to the gas station to fill up the car with gas, and they happened to carry my favorite chai tea there, and it was something that you couldn't buy in the stores or anything like that. It was just something that they had there. And so I'm walking out of the store, and I'm like, oh man, it's been so long since I've had one of those chai teas, and it sure would be nice to have one, Yeah. And I looked down, and here's some money laying on the ground. Picked it up. It was the exact amount that I needed for that cup of chai tea. Yeah. And it to me, those things like that are just like, just little taps on the shoulder of God saying, I'm here. You're my child. I'm taking care of you. I know what your needs are. I know what your wants are. Right. I'm here for you and stuff. And pretty much the same thing happened another time. I was I only had so much money for groceries. And so I was sitting out in the car looking over the list and trying to decide, okay, what were the important things to buy and needed and stuff, and trying to fit it in with that amount of money that I had. And so I went in and got the items, and when I went up to the cash to check out.
Yeah.
It went over like, it wasn't much. It was like 2 cents, 7 cents, something like that. And I'm like, oh, no, maybe I forgot to figure in tax on something or whatever, even though most of this stuff was groceries. And anyway, so I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Apparently I figured wrong. And so I was trying to think of the few groceries I'd gotten, which one I should delete. And the gal said to me, she says, oh, don't worry about it. Somebody else left $1 here earlier just, for this type of thing. And
Yeah.
And so, she's like, here, I'll use this $1. The thing I forgot to tell you was as I was walking into the store, there was pop machines there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I walked by the Pepsi machine, and I was thinking, oh, man, nice cold Pepsi would sure be good about now. It's been so long since I've had a can of Pepsi. And so, okay, so that's my thought going into the store. Well, so she's like, here's $1. Don't worry about it. It's covered, taken care of, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, so then when she went to give me the change, I'm like, no, you keep that for someone else.
Yeah.
And she says, we're just about ready to close. She says, I really don't want to leave change hanging around. She says, you take it.
Yeah.
Just take it and consider it a blessing or whatever stuff. So I'm like, oh, thanks. Well, so then I'm walking out of the store with my bag of groceries, walking by the pop machine again. And it's like, oh, hey, now I can afford a can of pop.
Right.
Yeah. And so it, just little things like that, that I don't know what other people might call them, but I consider them a miracle.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. This is one of the many resources we make available for free at our website, cultivaterelationships.com. Our resources have helped people grow in their relationship with God and others. We've seen people set free from uncontrollable anger and paralyzing fear. We've witnessed estranged family members be reunited after working through our Freedom Booklet. We've helped people build healthy relationship and coping habits through our coaching videos. And all of these resources are made available for free because of the generous support of people like you. If you would like to become a partner, please visit cultivaterelationships.com/support. Now, I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. How do you value those little things? I guess maybe is a better question. Like, how would you help someone value those little things where someone could write it off as, oh, that's just a coincidence, or oh, that's just, Jolene, that's stupid. It's a pop, Mm-hmm. But like, why was it so important for you? And then to that, how do you? I guess what would you say to someone in terms of valuing those little things? So start off with, why was it so important to you? Like, what was it that you were thinking or praying or going through that you're like, oh wow, this was a very specific answer to what you were walking through?
Well, I would say, for one, a lot of times when you do go through divorce and everything, you feel rejected, you feel not validated, and well, like in my case, maybe not everybody's. In my case, I was just really praying that things would work out to where the marriage could be restored and everything. And so sometimes you do start, feeling like, God, are you there? Do you really care about me? Do you,
Sure.
But you're thinking more on the terms of, I don't see you doing anything. And, in restoring the marriage or, just stuff like that. But I was going to say you do have those questions, and you do, experience some, what's the word that I want? Questioning or wondering, is God there or whatever and stuff. But like the way I look at it is God just kind of, poking me on the shoulder and saying, "Yep, I'm here for you. I'm listening. I know what you're going through. And stuff. I am taking care of you. You are my child, and I see your needs. I see your wants. I am here for you. It's, but in order to grow spiritually and even in order to mature as a human being, you do have to go through difficult times. If you never go through difficult times, you never develop the things you need to develop in order to become an adult or in order to become a more, mature Christian.
So why is it important to value those small things? I guess, why have you found it to be important to value those small things? Like, there's not like a neon sign that says, Jolene, it's gonna be okay. Like, no, but like, right? Like, would you say it's been incredibly rare where you see this thing and it's like, oh, okay, that's God's hand reaching down to me. At least in my own life and knowing you, it seems to be these small things that we almost have to choose to value, that's God speaking to us. I don't know.
I guess I look at them as being stepping stones, kind of in a way. And so every time you do go through the valley or a problematic area of your life or whatever, it's just that reassurance from God that I'm here, I'm taking care of you, I'm looking over you.
How would you encourage someone to value those small things? Or maybe a better question is why value them?
Because I feel like that's what strengthens your walking in the Lord, and it's God showing you that you can trust Him. And you have to, it's kind of like building, the memorials or the, to me, it's like looking at those things and it's like remembering, just remembering. And that's what strengthens you. And so then when the next time when you go through a valley situation or something, you can look back on those situations and like, oh yeah, the last time when I was having problems and stuff, this is how God took care of me.
Yeah.
And so I know He'll do it again. And I was gonna say, it's been a really long time since I've gone through what I would call a valley experience, but I can't say it's necessarily been because bad things haven't happened. It's because I have had years and years of experience of looking back on the things that God has taken care of and has proven His faithfulness and His goodness and, His trustworthiness to me, that when I am going through a bad time, I can look back on those things and know that everything's going to be okay. That God will see me through this too.
Yeah. Lacey and I were just talking about that, how I feel like with where we're at in our finances, I remember talking to Lacey going, I'm not necessarily like fully discouraged about where we're at. I feel like with what we've walked through, I think for the first time maybe in our marriage, I'm able to almost take an external view and kind of look in and go, oh, okay, God's doing something. He's going to be doing something. So rather than focusing on almost like my own woes, exactly to your point, where it's like I feel like I've walked with Him now long enough, and He's been faithful in that. Really, for the first time in our marriage, at least, I'm able to take an outside view and go, okay, God's about to show up.
Yep.
Rather than spiraling, right?
Yeah.
So like, what are some things maybe? Do you remember just in your life where do you remember praying for a miracle or praying for X to happen, but that didn't happen, but you know for a fact God answered that prayer? Does that make sense? So like one example you kind of alluded to was you had been praying that, obviously, that you wouldn't get divorced.
Mm-hmm.
You did.
Mm-hmm.
But other things, God had answered that prayer, not to dismiss or diminish anything, but like being able to buy you a Pepsi, being able to buy, right, like those little things where it's like not your big answer to prayer. But I guess through your life, what are some areas where it's like, okay, God, I'm praying for this thing, but he answered it in other ways? Like I know one was, you have a son with a terminal disease. I would assume your prayer is, God, take this disease away from him, right? So like, what are those types of things where, in my case, he hasn't taken the disease away? I guess, yeah. How did God answer those though?
Well, how can I say it? Well, okay, like in regards to the marriage or whatever, I always said that I never ever planned on getting married right away or whatever. But then too, I said I really didn't picture myself in my old age sitting on the rocking chair on the porch just rocking by myself. I pictured there'd be someone there, or whatever. But as much as I would have liked my first marriage to have been restored and everything, just because, for one sake of the kid, you guys or whatever, but, keeping the family intact and just not liking the, instead of the red A or whatever for adultery, the big black D or whatever on your forehead or whatever and stuff. But God has given me a man that I know loves me and takes wonderful care of me. And I mean, I just have no doubts at all that I'm deeply loved and cared for. And to me, that's been a great blessing in my life, to be able to experience that and stuff. And so, even though, I was praying for restoration of marriage and stuff, it's kind of like, now I can't think of the Bible verse about the locusts, how God restores, what the locust has eaten or whatever and stuff. And he's given me a very wonderful marriage. And I feel like family-wise and stuff, we're blessed. I mean, all you boys have taken, him in and accepted him. And that doesn't always happen in all families and everything and stuff. So I feel like God has blessed us. And,
well, I mean, to be fair to him, he's made it really easy. You know what I mean? Like, he's such a great guy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He is, and yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, and that's something I want to praise you kids about, because it's something that even though you have a great person, sometimes the kids just are not receptive of accepting
You're not my real dad. You can't send me to my room.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, and so it works both ways, and I'm just thankful that it has. So, so I don't know if that answers your question or not. Oh, as far as like praying for that, as far as like your health and stuff. Yeah, I mean, we prayed for you to be healed, and God hasn't healed you, but it's sometimes kind of one of those things where it's like, if you could go back and redo it all over again, would you choose the same path, or would you, choose something different or whatever?
Yeah.
And I guess because of having lived through it, I just know that I know it's hard to, it's hard, maybe might be hard for you to think, but I think our lives are richer and our faith and trust in God is deeper as a result of what we've had to live through and experience in your illness. And it's like, could have we ever gotten to that point in our spiritual lives without having gone through that? So if you had to choose again, if you could go back and choose it again, would you relive this life over, or would you choose something different?
Yeah.
I would say I'd choose it again, just because I guess that's the thing that I think is so neat about God. He knows just how to work in each one of our lives in order to help us in our growth, in our walk with Him and stuff. And this is what He's chosen.
Yeah.
And I think He chooses the things that is allowed.
Yeah.
I think He allows the certain things out of love for us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. I think, I was going to say, so one of the, like, for my own life, I think I've told you this, how in 2019, mid-2019 to 2020, I talked about how one of the darkest depressions that I've gone through, but out of that, and what God has, not to say He did that so that I would have the relationship now, right? I don't think He's that type of God. I think He definitely redeems, and also, but if someone were to ask me, would you go through all of that again for what I would say the relationship that I have with Him today?
Right.
Like I'm, when I, like, in terms of just my prayer life, I'm able to have a conversation with God, I would say, prior to 2019. Yeah, I felt led by Him. I every once in a while feel like maybe He spoke to me, but I'm at the place now where I can ask specific questions and almost immediately I get specific answers, Now, whether or not 2019, 2020 had to happen for me to get there, I don't know, but that's what it took, or that's what happened. And so to go back and say, would I go through that again to have the relationship that I have with God now? Yeah, absolutely. Right? Like, because it is one of those where I so cherish the relationship that I have with Him today.
Exactly.
It's, I guess, all that other stuff pales in comparison, Not to diminish what feelings I had and all of that, but, and so same thing with you. You're you're faced with, let's focus on, I guess, this is going to sound funny. Let's focus on me and my disease. No, I know there's other areas in your life, okay, other things that you walk through, but I guess maybe a mutual one. Let's stick on the mutual one, okay? Dealing with this disease, cystic fibrosis. So you have a son who's diagnosed with this disease, diagnosed with this terminal disease. Like, what were your thoughts? What were your initial responses to that?
Well, your diagnosis came how can I say, so slow.
Well, so that's what I mean. Like maybe take that whole season of time where, from issues with me being born to kind of that diagnosis, I guess. What were your thoughts in that time period?
Well, like they'd come in and they'd say, "Oh, we think it might be this," and of course back then, computers weren't all that accessible and stuff, and so we'd go to the medical library and we'd pull out these great big books that the binders were like about
multiple inches thick. Yeah.
And we'd pull them out and open them up, and we'd try to find the words that the doctor said or whatever, and we'd read it, and it's like, oh, we don't want him to have that, and stuff. And then next couple of days, it's like, oh, it's not that, but we think it's this. It's so same thing. We pull out this book and we'd read it. Oh, we don't want him to have that, and stuff. And so as time went on, the thing that I've always said was, I think the worst thing about an illness is that time of the unknown. There's something wrong, but you don't know what it is, and so you don't know if what you're doing is helping or making it worse, and that's one thing I've always, in talking to people who are going through that period of time, I tell them, I say, this is the worst time for you right now. That time of the unknown, Once you get a diagnosis and stuff, no matter how bad that diagnosis is, at least, medically and stuff, a direction to go in, and that the doctors are trying to do the best that they can to help you and stuff like that. And you, at least you have, kind of a path to walk down or whatever. Whereas that time of the undiagnosis is like you're just stumbling around in the dark, and you're lost, and you have no idea what to do, a clue where to head, what to, am I turning around, am I going back in the opposite direction, I just feel like it's a horrible time. So, and the thing is that they had brought cystic fibrosis up several times, and they had given you the sweat test, but each, like the first time it came back negative.
Yeah.
And, so we'd already read up on it and stuff like that, and knew that the, longevity of life wasn't very long and stuff. But some of the other things that they'd thrown at us were, if not as bad, worse, or, whatever and stuff. And then the second one came, they did the second test a couple months later, and that, I think, came back on the borderline.
Okay.
And so by the time the third test came about, with being positive, I mean, we'd already kind of gone through it a couple of times.
Right.
And so, to me, by the time, that third test came and it was positive, it was like, I would say for me, it was a big relief. It was like, whew, we finally know what's wrong with him. We finally know what direction we need to go in order to, help him and stuff like that. Not to say that it was easy, because that first year of your life, you were, I want to say 6 different times. I can't say that 6 different times you were put on life support. I know you were on life support, but I want to say there were 6 different times where the doctors had said he wouldn't live through the night. Mm-hmm. And that's hard to take. Nobody wants to lose a child, And so those times were hard, and not to say that it would be any easier if we lost you today.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be any easier. But I know for me, my one thought, and it was a selfish prayer to God. But I asked him, I said, God, if you're never going to let me see those little legs run, I would like you to take him now, And I can remember the first time I saw those little legs run. And it was just, I
still have little legs.
It was just a relief to me, because I felt like it was God saying to me, no matter what all you go through, everything's going to be okay.
So with one of the thoughts I had is with the, like you were saying, you're going through this time of not knowing, of questioning, of praying, and I know, I mean, just from stories that you and Dad have told me, you guys had a community of people praying, and I guess maybe what can it again. Part of it was just for me, but I mean, I know in other times in your life you've had a community of people praying for whatever the circumstance was. I guess how important do you think that is for someone's relationship with God to be healthy, but then for that person to be healthy, to have a community of people around them, and how did it help you?
Well, God made us to be in community, and for my heart just goes out to anyone who is a loner or whatever, or who doesn't see the need of community. I just think of Moses with, was it Aaron and Joshua, who held his arms up and stuff, and it's just all of us go through times of being weak, or we just can't do it on our own. Yeah. We need those people to come alongside us and to encourage us and pray for us and stuff. And it just, we it goes back to God didn't call us to, do it alone. He called us to work together and to, like in Ecclesiastes, to help a brother up and stuff. And we need each other. And I don't know what we would have done if it was just ourselves.
Well, how did that play out with you guys? Like, what did that look like in terms of inviting other people in?
Well, for one, with Larry being a pastor, you're you kind of have a built-in community in your church, but then too, you do have to create that relationship or friendship with people and stuff too. But I just think, like, in the beginning, when you were hospitalized and then you're home and then you're flown back to Anchorage again and this, that, and the other. I mean, if it wasn't for people who came alongside, you had two older brothers, and and I can remember times of, well, it got to the point where I kept a bag packed, but in the beginning, you run you to the hospital or whatever, and it's like, yep, we got to get him up to Anchorage and stuff, and it's like, I only have a few minutes to go home and throw some stuff in a bag and try and figure out what are we going to do with your two older brothers. And if it wasn't for people who were willing to say, hey, any time of day or night, we'll take them and we'll, and
how did you cultivate that community? How did you, I guess, develop those people that came around you and anytime, day or night? Like, how did that happen?
Well, you have to spend time, time with them, and I think too, it's people's hearts and people being open to what God has to say to them, and God speaking to them about somebody's need or something. I mean, there's times that if people are open to hearing from God, there are times where people are hurting or need something, and you don't have to say a thing. If they and their walk with the Lord is where it should be or whatever. God can speak to them. One case in point, I had, and it's like miracle or blessing or whatever. But I was thinking, like, when I was pregnant with Jeremy, your oldest brother, we didn't have much money, but we had a lot of potatoes thanks to Alaska growing crops or whatever and stuff. We used to always call it our manna because sometimes it was breakfast, lunch, and supper, We had our potatoes. And anyway, we had gone to a doctor's appointment, a prenatal, one, and the doctor said that he wanted me to write down everything I ate for the next 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, okay, and as we were leaving
potato.
Yes, exactly. As we were leaving the doctor's office, that's exactly what I said. I said, oh, that's going to look good. My 101 ways of how to prepare potatoes.
Not potatoes. Sorry, potato soup.
Yeah.
Mashed potatoes.
Exactly.
Baked potato.
Yeah.
Grilled potato.
Hash browns.
Fried potatoes. French fries.
Exactly. And I said, oh, that's going to look horrible on this piece of paper, because he gave me a paper to write it all down on. And I said, yeah, my diet's going to not look very good. And we drive into our driveway, and there's like 8 bags full of groceries on our doorstep.
Wow.
And I mean, talk about crying.
Oh,
It was just, and it's like we had gone straight from the doctor's office to home. Nobody knew our situation.
Yeah.
But yet someone was sensitive to hear the word, listen to the Lord. And know, and man, I thoroughly enjoyed writing down everything that I ate. A nice, complete, healthy, well-rounded meals diet.
Not one potato on the list yet.
It's just things how God provides, and it's not only do you have to take time and build relationships and stuff, but other people need to be sensitive. To the Lord and listening to Him. And
okay, so in situations that we've been in across the board, whether it's health or finance or whatever, okay, you have people that you're close to who say stupid things. Okay, so what I'm not talking about are the random people, okay, in your life who may say stupid things, right? Whatever.
Okay.
What I'm talking about is the people that love you, will do anything for you, but say a dumb thing, say something that's discouraging, say something that's not what you would consider what you need at the time. Okay. How do you process through that? Because it is people that love you. They don't. Yeah, what's your process of dealing with people like that where it's, I don't know. Yeah, how do you do that?
Well, like I said, here again, when some people say things, it depends on your personality again. Some fight back right away or, whatever, give them a piece of their mind or whatever. And me, I freeze, so I think through it and process it and stuff like that. Well, I was just telling you just recently about, someone who, said some pretty nasty things about me or whatever and stuff. And so I take time to process it. It takes several days. Sometimes it'll be a week or whatever and stuff. But I think in the most part, okay, you have to weigh it. Okay, God, are you using them to speak to an area in my life that needs, to be corrected or whatever?
Yeah.
even though you think at the time it's like, oh, they're way off base or whatever and stuff like that. But, take time to weigh it.
Yeah.
And if there's some truth or whatever in it, to accept it and work on whatever. But then other times, I would say just accept it for what it is, that those people are speaking out of a place of hurt. And
because you can't break off relationship with anyone who says dumb things, right? I mean, like, you'll have no friends,
right?
Because all my friends say stupid things.
Yeah, I never. Yeah, and I know I have it.
Right. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, because even in our own self, when we try to offer an encouragement, something like I've stuck my foot in my mouth like so many times. But that's what I mean is, like, I feel like sometimes, especially if you just carry offense, it's easy to just be like, okay, nope, not gonna hang out with them anymore. Okay, I'm done. Like, nope. But that's why I mean is, like, not the stranger, not the person who just kind of one-offs something. You don't really have investment, right? Like, in that relationship. I'm talking about the people that are close to you. Because I think you're absolutely right that it's so vital to work through stuff and not invest more time into an offense than what is valid, right?
Right.
And so that's what I mean by the people that love you, the people that like you said, the importance of community. Well, in community is always the opportunity for offense. I think it's one of the Psalms where it says, a stall that has no oxen stays clean, right? Like, oh, I have a very clean stall. And also,
but you're also sitting there all alone by yourself.
You're not doing anything.
Yeah.
You're not productive.
Right.
And so I think that's the thing, is recognizing, okay, obviously in community, you're going to have mess. But also in community, like you were saying, is you have this group of people who care for you, who sacrifice for you, and it's a community. So one person might be going through feast, another might be going through famine, and then vice versa, right?
Yeah,
it's like you're constantly in this moving organism of, oh, okay, hey, I can help you. Oh, I need help now.
Yeah.
And even the help might exchange one way financially, but then the other way emotionally. Like, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Well, I was going to say, or physically or whatever. I guess I'm thinking, like, in our small group, we have some wealthy people, and then we have some that aren't so wealthy or whatever. But, like, one of the couples in our small group are in their 80s.
Yeah.
And they're wealthy. They're well-to-do. But they live in one of these beautiful old houses or whatever, which has no air conditioning because it's, water.
So
well, it's that. Well, like we had the one house with the coiled water.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. I forget what they're called.
I know, that's what I'm trying. I want to say water baseboard, and that's not it.
No.
It's register.
Like the big registers.
Yeah. And so there's no way for an air conditioner in a situation like that. So they have to use air conditioners in their windows. And even though, yes, they're wealthy and they could pay some handyman to come and put in their air conditioners and stuff, it's like to find someone who will take 15, 20 minutes out of their day to stick some air conditioners in a window,
Right.
Anyway, last year, come June or whatever, we were talking to him on the phone, and we knew a heat wave was coming. And they just happened to mention something about they hadn't gotten their air conditioners in yet. And so I said to Rich, oh, Rich, they need those air conditioners in. And even though it was like a 45-minute drive to get to their house, we hopped in the car and we went in and, and did their air conditioners.
Yeah.
And they were so thankful for it. I mean, it's helping someone physically, meeting a physical need or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, so this year the same thing happened, but because of Rich's surgery and stuff, obviously he couldn't do it. Well, we were driving around with some friends of ours, and I said, "Hey, Bob, how do you feel like doing some manual labor for next half hour or something like that?" Because we were like within blocks of their house.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I'm up to it. Why? What do you have in mind?" And I said, "Well, there's a couple, near here that we know that needs air conditioners put in their window." I mean, I hadn't talked to them at the time, but I thought, okay, it's the 1st of June. Heat's coming.
Right.
I wonder if they've gotten anyone to do it yet.
Right.
And so I told Rich, I said, "Would you mind swinging by their house and seeing if they have their air conditioners in?" And no, they didn't. And so they were out in their yard, and so we drove up, and of course they're, happy to see us and everything. And I said, "Yeah," I said, "I roped Bob here into helping, having me." I said, I'm helping too. Yeah. But I thought he and I, since Rich can't, I thought he and I could help put you guys. They were so thankful that, here out of the blue.
Right.
And there again, where I feel like the prompting of the Lord, they hadn't asked anyone, they hadn't,
But it was almost that perfect timing, and
Yeah, and so the Lord laid it on my heart to go see if they needed help or whatever, and and they've mentioned it several times how thankful they were that.
I think
that we had thought of them.
I think that's so important to take those moments where you're like, oh, that's a crazy thought.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's a simple thought. Ah, that's crazy. But no, what if we were to actually pay attention to that and go, wait, maybe this is God speaking to me to meet someone else's need. And I think we kind of maybe pigeonhole ourselves into, no, I only help people this way, or I only do this for people. When, it's like, wait. What is it that God's asking me to do right now? It may not be this. May actually be, may not be financial. Maybe it's physical, or maybe you're someone who helps physically, but in this moment you need to be an emotional help, right?
Right.
Like just sit and be with someone. And and then for some of us, maybe we're service people. We do things for people, but then over here, God's saying, "Hey, I want you to give extravagantly to this." Right? Like all of these pull us out of our comfort. These
our ruts that we get.
Yeah. But it's I think exactly to your point of being able to be led by the Holy Spirit for that person, for that moment, for the need that they have, and recognizing, okay, it may not necessarily be how I am gifted, and also it may be exactly how I'm gifted, right? Like, don't pigeonhole yourself,
Right. Yeah,
so
be open to whatever, and and obedient,
right?
To those little promptings, like you said. You may have that prompting, but you're like, you might poo-poo-pee do it or whatever and stuff. But if you follow that, and then maybe you'll see that, oh, that was the Holy Spirit prompting me or whatever.
Well, what's interesting is, so I don't fancy myself as someone who makes friends easily. Like, it takes me a while. It's interesting, the last year, the people who I would consider my friends have been people I've intentionally gone out of my own comfort zone to do stuff with or to do stuff for. They've really been they've really started to be some of my closer friends. But again, I think that's the thing is I'm expecting in my line of things that I'm doing in my day or week, okay, I'm gonna find the friends in that, right? And I mean, for the longest time, I might have one or two, maybe, but in the last year, God's been kind of forcibly having me do things I'm not super excited about, but I'm finding more friends in those things. And so I don't know, like for, people like me who and it's, like you're saying in small groups, but being able to kind of branch out of those areas that you're comfortable in, and you never know, you might find people that you're, hey, I actually enjoy that person. I like hanging out with them. And yeah, you might be doing mutual things that they help you for, you help them for, but recognizing, and also, I actually enjoy them. I want to hang out with them outside of helping each other,
Well, I think sometimes we tend to, like they talk about boxing God in. I think we tend to box our, I don't know if you want to say friends.
Or like relationships.
Relationships or whatever of, hanging out with them because, okay, you guys have the same things that you like to do or whatever and stuff like that.
These are our game friends. These are our church friends. These are our whatever.
Yeah. And, but then you look at this group over here and it's like, I have nothing in common with them. I, stay away from them or whatever and stuff. But that may be the group of people who God's leading you to because, for one, you may be able to minister to them. For two, they may be able to minister to you. And instead of, preconceived ideas or... there's another word I was thinking of. I can't think of it right now, but all I can think of is, boxing the possibilities in instead of being open and receptive to whatever. And if you're not open and receptive to it, who knows how many blessings you may have missed out on,
exactly.
as a result of it. So anyway.
It's a good moment. Thank you. Thanks for talking with me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Well, I enjoyed it. It was good.
One of the few times you talked to me. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah, right.
I only have to get you on my podcast to have a conversation. It's good to know.
Oh, we've had conversations.
I'm messing with you.
I know
I'm
you
kidding,
are.
Mom.
I know.
Just remember, I'm your favorite son.
You're expecting a comeback on that one, aren't you?
No, because I know I'm your favorite son. Duh.
That's okay. You can think that way if you want to.
Okay, goodbye.